Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I wanted to wrap up our topic that we've been talking about regarding what is it to be a man according to the Bible. And what I'm hoping is that a lot of the things that we are discovering is not exactly what you thought it was. And that maybe this might refocus how as men we should act around our wives, our children's, and our peers. One of the things that I want to talk about today is what is a man's role in society? You know, we get it twisted sometimes. We think that we have to be some kind of stereotype. But the reality of it is, and I'm hoping that you're seeing this, that a man is many different things. A man's ability to make life better for the people around him, the people that he loves, and also be a mentor. You know, a man should have good character with his peers. So if you're in a leadership role, you need to lead with integrity. You need to do as you say, not just tell people to do what you want them to do. You need to lead by example. And this is stated in Proverbs 27. So it's chapter 20, verse 7. You know, you want to influence people by living correctly, living in a right manner. And not by force. You don't force your opinions. You don't scare people into doing what you want them to do. You lead in a way that they want to follow you. You want to have a life that's inspiring. You know, and you know, you got to realize leadership is always tied to responsibility, not privilege. And that's a real hard thing for a lot of people. You know, a lot of leaders, they want it for the prestige. They want it so they can tell people what to do whenever they're in a leadership role. And that's not really what it is. If anything, Jesus taught us as a man is a servant in a lot of regards. Jesus led by example. But at the same time, Jesus was also a servant. That's why he washed his disciples' feet at the Last Supper before his crucifixion, to show that great service is great leadership. You know, we need to be, as men, we need to protect the people we love. You know, we need to, and protection's kind of a tricky one, because we always think that, you know, there's the mean guy or somebody's going to hurt somebody we care about, and you say, stand behind me. And then we're going to, we're going to beat the guy up. And that's not necessarily what it is. A man protects, for instance, his son or daughter by making sure they're informed. You know, most protection is not physical. Most protection is mental, providing the right mindset. That also means providing the right environment. Take our wives, for instance. Our wives want to feel safe around us to be themselves. Yes, our wives may want, you know, some women desire a man that is, you know, bigger than them, and they feel small in his presence, so that they feel like they can be protected. Yes, there are some women out there like that. But the reality of it is, if a man cannot provide a safe emotional space for his spouse, he is letting her down in a very major area. This does not mean, men, that you have to know all the answers. You just have to have good ears and listen. I think that that's one of the biggest things I've learned with my wife, especially as I've gotten older. You know, although, you know, I am a self-defense instructor, I've realized the greatest self-defense is knowledge. It is knowing when to speak, when to shut up, how to de-escalate. You know, But I've also realized that as you get older, there's always somebody bigger, somebody stronger, somebody faster, somebody tougher. There always is. You especially realize this as you get older. But I've realized that in my greatest victories, or at least what I felt were great victories for my wife, it was when I had the ability to listen. As you get older, you see more death. You lose people that are close to you. You lose family members. You lose your parents. There's all these things that you start losing as you get older. And there's a lot of burden to shoulder with your spouse in being there for them so they can just let it all out. Be themselves, not have to put on this strong face to everybody that, we're okay. They can actually fall apart around you and it be okay. They can be themselves. It's so important that we remember that. A man needs to be a provider as well. One of the things I greatly disagree with is how men get. I see a younger generation that just wants to play video games all day or be on watching TV all day. The bottom line is, as a man needs to work diligently. And this is in Colossians 3:23. Work diligently at whatever you're doing, whether that is actually making money or you are trying to be one of the pillars that supports the household. All in all, do something. Don't sit on your butt and just sit there and not contribute. That's the main thing. You have to be a contributing person to society, no matter what it is. Being a homemaker is contributing to society. We often don't like to remember this because men like to think, I bring home the bacon. Even when my wife was making more money than me at one point, now we're making somewhat equal, but even still, she even was guilty of throwing that up in my face that she made more money than me, because we have an improper view of what a provider is. A provider is somebody who provides security. That means being what you need to be at the time. Work diligently. Don't be lazy. And in the same way, in the same breath, provide for your family. Provide. That means you have to be present. It's not that you make money. It's not that you don't, it's not that you do this, that, or the other. You provide whatever is needed. If your son or daughter needs help doing their homework, you provide help. It's greater than this whole idea and concept of money and you don't have to do anything. I was raised a little bit like that. My dad didn't know how to answer my questions. So, he made the money. My mom was the one who had to teach me stuff. No, it's both. It's the man's job too. And you need to steward your family wisely. You need to give knowledge that you have when it's appropriate. You may not be the guy that is great at saving money, but you may be the guy that is good at doing something else. Maybe you're the guy that knows how to fix things. My wife, hey, I don't understand this. I'm not good with directions. You put it together. Hey, that's where I can serve. I can do that. And I end up putting things together a lot of times. She's better at doing the banking and the booking and the saving than I am. You know what? I'm better in a sense at helping her maintenance her car. So I mean, these are just things. She's better at the policies and insurance policies and stuff like that than I am. So I mean, everybody's got their strength. There's no wrong way here. Everybody is going to have strengths. Take the pride out of it. Whomever is good at what they are, let them do it. Be a partner to your spouse. Be a partner to your friends. Same way. I see so many men that have this pride, and it's so annoying to me. They got to be good at everything. They've got to boast about themselves and all these kind of things. That's not being a real man. Being a real man is being a dependable person that shows integrity, not how much you can brag and not how much you can embellish your stories. That breeds insecurity and an ability and a want to compete with everybody else. You got to realize you, as a man, have your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and they're going to be different from the guy next to you. Just because somebody's really good at something doesn't mean that you are not good at something else, or that you're less worthy just because they can play a sport better than you per se, or they can fix something better than you. That doesn't mean that you don't have your own skill set. And that's important. That's what makes the world go round, is that we all have different skill sets. It's how much humility we show and how much patience. Real men often have small circles. They often do, just because it's more and more nowadays. Everybody feels like they got to strut around like a peacock and show off in an attempt to make other people feel like they're less. That's just how the world is. Everything is always about who can do it better and who can look better and who has more followers and more likes on social media. It's just getting to be that way, and it is a real shame because it should not matter. We all should be celebrated for our differences, and we often forget that, and we forget that a lot in the world of men. Men often are expected to fall into a stereotype. It's not fair either. As men, we also have to realize men carry around a lot more testosterone than women. So guess what? We have to manage our anger. Not that everybody doesn't have to manage their anger, but I feel like in a lot of cases, men really need to watch their anger. And most of all, men have a tendency to think that it's okay if their wife isn't performing in the bedroom the way that they think, then they often think it's okay to step out on her. She's not doing her womanly duty. And no. You both should be in it for the long haul unless there's extenuating circumstances. If you treat each other like you are the other is a piece of gold, it will all work out. If you put God at the head of your marriage, guess what? It's going to work out, but it takes two. Good men are servants to others. We said that earlier, but what I love about Mark 10:42 through 45 is it's talking about be a servant rather than dominant. Put people's needs first. Be a person that lifts others up instead of stepping on them. Men should also be mentors. You need to rise up the next generation. I hate that whenever people, men are deadbeat dads. They're not doing anything to help with the family unit. Deuteronomy 6:6-7 is talking about, teaching the next generation. Encouraging rather than provoking, as stated in Ephesians 6:4. Model with wisdom and compassion. Men are peacemakers. In Matthew 5:9, it says, pursue peace. You want to resolve conflicts with wisdom, not your fists. And you want to build a united community. You want to unite. You don't want to be a divider as a man. You want to be a uniter. And that's the brass tacks of it, guys. As men, we need to represent ourselves well. We need to be worthy of the title man. We need to stop being boys, and we need to grow up. I know that's hard to hear, but men are fleshly, very visual creatures. I know I am one, right? So, you got to realize, men, we've got to make, as Job said in the book of Job, he made a covenant with his eyes. We need to realize that stuff hurts our wives if they just see us looking at other women and kind of, just got a little piece of drool and everything. Quit it. You married the woman that you're with. She should be your everything. Your kids, they need to come in there too. If you don't make your wife your everything, well, then guess what? What's that say about your kids? You're going to make your kids everything? Well, guess what? Then you neglect your wife. You got to figure it out. And it's different. No family unit is the same. You got to figure it out. You need to get in the driver's seat and take control of your role. That's a lot different. I'm not saying take control of your wife's role. I'm saying take control of your role. And I guarantee this. I see it in my own marriage. I've been married 30 years. I can tell you with confidence that if you do that, you'll start seeing more positive in your marriage. Your wife will recognize your efforts. And women are very much emotional creatures. They feel things so deeply and they hurt so deeply. You've got to understand that. Hurt runs deep in a woman's soul. Women have more compassion than men do. Not saying that men can't be compassionate or not compassionate. I'm just saying as the normal, women are very, very compassionate creatures. We need to honor that and nurture that as men. It doesn't matter who is doing what in the household as far as roles. It just matters that it gets done. That's what real leadership is making sure the task gets done no matter who's performing the role. And finally, guys, with your friends, remember, they have a place. Build your friends up. Don't be somebody that's always running around with a downcast face and complaining all the time. Real men learn how to find a way to confide in those that are worthy of their time. Don't just go throwing your emotions around to any old person who will listen. No, I mean, you have your friends that you can be confident in. And also your wife. Your wife should be somebody as well. But the main thing is don't go around just being a whiny person. For one, it's like the boy who cried wolf. People start turning you off. They're like, oh no, it's Negative Joe. No, they want somebody who's going to be constructive with how they talk about their emotions. I knew a guy once, and granted, he was left. His dad didn't stay in the picture. And you know what? It was noticeable. He was so angry at his dad. He's like, my dad didn't stick around. I was raised solely by my mom and I didn't have anybody to teach me to be a man. And he was bankrupt in so many different ways, emotionally, spiritually, physically. He didn't have another man to help him through. And unfortunately, he was old enough to where the damage was just very, very hard to fix. So guys, be somebody that can be remembered through their actions and through their wisdom and through their integrity. That's what we need to contribute to our community. And this ends it. This ends this segment. I've got some upcoming episodes. They're kind of random ideas and curiosities that I just thought were pretty interesting as I looked through the Bible and realized that how I read that verse was not exactly what I thought it was meaning. And I look forward to sharing that to you. The next week is going to be on Turn the Other Cheek, and it's really interesting how much different that was meant in its time versus how we read it now. Anyway, have a great week.